Thanks, Arun. It's a very comprehensive presentation. And we have a few questions. Maybe we'll start with first question. Before starting, I think you have covered wide range of topics, Arun. So whether started with business leadership, cartography, or belief framework, customer empathy, and you have offered to the audience also to visit your design center. I have visited your design center. It's a world-class facility. So he has offered. I request prefix with Arun's team. Please go and visit Arun's design center. It's a world-class facility. So we will move to the first question, Arun. First question is they are talking about. Could you little more elaborate on belief framework? So maybe you can go back, possible slide, or maybe you can explain the belief framework.
I'll go back to slide also and explain on that. That's a good point. Now, for any business to succeed, it requires this 6 capitals. You need brand and sales. So let's say when you starting SME startup, he has a product which is a B4 capital. Then he has some people who are committed to the product, which is a B3 capital, and they're solving some customer problem, which is a B2 capital and customers. That's the 3 things which comes together as a startup. Then you start building a product and start selling to somebody. That becomes your brand and sales capital. You name the company, you name the group, and that naming the group becomes important. That becomes V1 capital. How your name is so interesting. Sometimes your naming itself is a curious naming. Sometimes I use the name 8012 to create a curiosity. But name of the company sometimes have a curiosity itself. Sometimes name of the company is solving the particular problem. So naming itself is important, and then do the sales. That is the B1 capital. Then I deliver to the customer on the promise I made. I call it, if you deliver 3 days before time to any customer, you don't need a sales team. Delivery D-3 OTIF is the execution capital. And 6 is the finance capital. So finance capital is about what is the business model of that? What is your business model? What is your pricing? How the business model is scalable? So these are 6 capitals. So you need a 6 expertise in your company as a startup. A lot of time we start liking the people from the same technology company. So all 3 of us are technologists. So we have a strong B4 capital, and we have a B5 capital also. We are good at good programming. We can do it, but we leave other capital out. So I would suggest that a startup needs to look at it, or any SME needs to look at it, whether he has a complete 6 capital, whether it need not be with one person. So we started as an Intellect, 3 people, Yogesh, myself, Vishnu. We were holding 2 capital each. So sometimes startup with the 3 partners, but 3 partners should be complementary to each other, not doing the same thing, all 3 of them.
Yeah. Next question is they are talking about loss of design and thinking, the last 2%. Arun.
So the last 2%, in the same slide, if you look at last 2%, when I get into brand and sales, let's say I pick up one capital called brand capital. First, L0 will be, what is my messaging as a brand? I need to pick up 5 or 6 words, which is my L0 statement. That will be my ethos of my entire brand communication. Then I go to the next step, L1, that if brand message has 3 things, we say Intellect is writing composable and contextual solutions for the banking. So I have keywords is composable, second is contextual, third word is banking. Now I go to L1, I'll decompose L1. What is composability means? It means microservices, it means package business components, it means integration, it means orchestration. Those are the L1 words of the composability. Same way I'll do. So I'll look at for contextuality, my AI, machine learning, decision making. Then I go to L2 word of it, that microservices, how many microservices I have, how many APIs I have. That is the L2 analysis. And then I go to the L3. So when I keep on dissecting and keep wiring composability up to the final level of how I document my microservices on Confluence, and if you want to change a small change in a functionality, I go to shared Confluence engine. When I do it, that is my L3, and that is my last 2%.
So the next question is, Kesh, can you share an example of some business and the journey through the step, what the outcome looks like?
All the businesses are similar way. So if your own business or Intellect business, I can share my Intellect story. So in Intellect business, when I separated Polaris and Intellect in 2014, and I believe my personal passion was product business rather than services business. The first challenge was, how do I change the culture of the organization, which is service culture? So services require a particular culture of order taking, understanding the customer and problem solving. While product company required a culture of agenda setting and problem solving. Now to that level, I look at the cartographic view, which are the product company in the world. Temenos is a great company in banking space. Finestra was a great company in the banking space. FIS was a great company. So I look at the landscape. That was my cartographic view of the market space. What technology they were using. I found they were using some old technology that I can disrupt the market by bringing a microservices and cloud technology in 2015, 2016. Then that becomes a big opportunity for me. So big opportunity come to me in terms of what is my current landscape is there. And if I use cloud technology in 2015, that time it was just getting introduced. And if my product are ready for cloud and digital and AI and machine learning in 2016 and 17, then I committed 1,000 crore for investing into R&D into that area, because that was a big opportunity for me, because my competition was not investing at 2015 on that space. Then I did idea generation, that how do we go about doing it. We have multiple sessions and multiple teams I created, one for corporate banking, one for retail banking, one for capital market, one for insurance, and all the 4 teams started working separately to identify and building the idea generation phase. Then we converge on, these are the 3 products we want to go first in a market, where we should take a leadership. We write 12 products, but we'll take 3 products at a time and invest some another 1,800 crore for marketing, creating a brand around that. We created a IGTB Oxford leadership brand. So those are the brands we created. And then we start creating the story. For creating a story, the very interesting thing we started doing is, we said, we are writing a software, global transaction banking. So everybody in a bank has one manager called GTB head. We say our unit is also called GTB head. So he's mentally aligned to our product. Then we start creating a GTB advisory board, global advisory board. Then we start taking a Sage brand we are taken, because we are selling enterprise base. So we tied up with Oxford University, and we said, we bring the CIOs of the market to the Oxford, take it to there and tell the story there, because they have a listening authority. We created a design center. These are all the tools we use for telling our story. So that's the 5-step process I can share for the Intellect, but I didn't want to do the pompous form Intellect, but just still that experience is close to my heart. I shared that.
Yeah, thanks, Arun. So next question is from Venkanna. I think Venkanna worked with the Polaris as part of UL team. I am a founder at Ample Logic. Is the design thinking more effective with low-code platforms?
Low-code platform is the outcome of design thinking. Low-code platform is, obviously low-code platform will give you higher throughput. So low-code platform is the opportunity identified. So if you look at it in Polaris or Intellect, we started first creating a frame of comparison. And then we start saying each area, if we have a low coding platform, then we have a distinct advantage of accelerated delivery or accelerated digital transformation for the customer. And that's where the low coding platform comes into picture. So low coding platforms are not starting point. Low coding platform is an outcome of design thinking to say which area and what you need to do in a low coding platform.
Yeah, next question is from Arun Patnaik. Can you please list the 5 elements of design thinking?
5 elements of design thinking.
Yeah.
I listed down all the 3 laws of design thinking and 3 definitions of design thinking. And
starting from belief, that is what you
starting from belief, yeah. So I think those are the, if you just record it, it's more than 5 elements, 7 or 8 elements are there. Yeah.
And the next question is how IP is applicable to service companies too.
IP to me is anything which you do differently is IP. IP doesn't mean you have even process can be IP, your learning can be IP, your training can be IP, your way of dealing with the people, attracting the talent could be IP for you. IP is not only what we understand, which is patentable in technology space. IP is my differentiation, which I create in an organization around all the 6 capitals. So I may have IP of brand, I may have IP of customer, I may have IP for the way my leadership or attract the talent. So all the 6 capital I can have a IP.
Then, so I'm asking you one question, Arun. How small and medium companies, whether they require a dedicated team for design thinking implementation, or it's a cross-functional team, how they should go about, especially for SMEs?
I mean, you don't require a separate team as such. I think this is a culture where a CEO has to lead the way, where he starts believing into it, and his actions are the culture. You don't require a separate team at all. Design thinking is not a process like quality process or something. Design thinking is a way of what we do day to day, but it's my behavior, the way I do it. That's why self-leadership becomes first. A lot of time design thinking, people say I get a design facilitator for doing it. I'm dead against that design facilitator. You may learn the practice. You may do a course on design thinking. Let's say School of Business Design and School of Design Thinking can have an 8-week course or 12-week course where you spend time, absorb yourself into design thinking. You want to go to Stanford to do a design thinking program, go there. But it has to be led by the leaders themselves. The top 2, 3, 4, 5 leaders has to lead it. If they're not 2, 4, 5 leaders, even one person is enough for bringing the processes and systems in doing the design thinking. Whether he gives a time of no agenda meeting, he's comfortable with no agenda meeting, because a lot of senior executives are not comfortable with no agenda meeting.
I fully agree with you, Arun.
Yeah.
So one is it's a culture they have to bring in. Otherwise, it's very, very difficult. So they will not bring, because always the prefixed meetings, they'll go with a prefixed agenda, prefixed mind. So the no agenda meeting is very, very important. I fully agree with you. There is one more question from Ajay Datta from Bangladesh. So we are working on a new kind of idea, which we have surveyed that will be very effective for India. I am a Bangladeshi entrepreneur. What could be my next step?
Just do it. Just sit down and form a team and start creating a prototype of it. But before jumping onto it, just do more documentation work. Go L1 to L2, level 1 to level 2. Once you get into level 2, level 3 will come afterwards. But level 2 is okay to test out your idea.
So there is one more question from Akhil. Should it be the result mind, which is at stage 3, now come at the end?
Sorry, just...
So this is from Akhil. Should not be the result mind, which is at stage 3, now come at the end. This is what he has posted.
Yeah.
Also not clear with the question.
That's right. His point is whether result mind should be the outcome of everything else is a result. But when you are looking at self-leadership, you start doing anything, something you are creating. So after imagination, after learning, you are creating something. The creation is called your... So sometimes you can write a good program, but you may not be effective in working with the teams. You may not be influencing other people to sell it. So that's how the result mind comes in the middle of between imagination, learning. Results are there because sometimes you must have seen in an organization, there's a smart programmer, very, very significant expert, but he doesn't work with anybody else. He works alone. He's not effective. He's effective individually, but not as effective as a team. That SME cannot be effective. That business will not be effective. Then you come to influence. That's why I put it in the middle, not in the end.
Okay. The next question is from Raj Kamal. Out of the 6 capitals which you had mentioned with priority 1 to 6, financial capital is must to create all other capitals. So for a startup to create 1 to 5 capitals, it takes a lot of time based on the revenue generated by business. What is your suggestion for the same?
Yeah, so I think this is when we started our company, in 1986, we didn't have opportunity for any finance capital. Basically, we need to think about a product and start generating revenue in 6 months' time. 6 months' time, I can survive on my scooter and I can survive on with my parents. So I don't need a salary for 6 months or 1 year. It's not a big issue. But today, when we are looking at finance capital is a primary objective, then I'm not able to wire my product and end customer. When I'm on vulnerable stage because I don't have a revenue for 6 months and my parents start saying you don't earn, and then I will be very sharp. My mind will be very sharp. Will be in vulnerable zone. And that stage is important for startup to go through the same phase, because if they emphasize too much on a finance capital upfront, then my ability to find a big opportunity, which is a step 2 of design thinking, may not be right big opportunity. It may be semi-right big opportunity, which may not succeed afterwards. So too much time is spent today by having a pitch deck and other things. I think spend more time with the team to look at it, how to bootstrap your business. I think Sriram has built up Integra on bootstrap model. So all of us in this room have built up our businesses on bootstrap models. I think for some stage, till the time you have some revenue viability, and you require angel capital, it's okay. Some mentor will be there who will give you angel capital. I think that's not a big issue if your idea is good.
Yeah, thanks, Arun. And one more question. Any good book or video you can suggest on design thinking?
Design thinking, there are multiple books. I'm not able to look at it for design thinking, but to me, design thinking is a fifth discipline by Peter Singer, is a system thinking, which gives a feeling of system thinking. Now, system thinking, when you meet with opportunity thinking, which is available in C.K. Prahlad, Competing for the Future, and then you have a books on gold rat of solving the operational problem. When you combine all of them, and then Stephen Covey for personal habits, which is there, these 4 or 5 books combination creates a good design thinking. Otherwise, it becomes there are books on design thinking which are more around a specific process of design thinking. To me, design thinking is a mind shift rather than a process.
Arun, you should talk about you are writing a book on design thinking. Good book. So maybe you should okay. That also. Maybe you should launch.
Yeah, maybe we can launch those books. So I am writing a small book. Yeah, I'm writing a book on Mukt. So it will take some, and 5 minds, self-leadership. But I'm start writing of Sriram for school children first. The first book is for 9 to 12 standard, not for businesses. That will be for teenager to achiever is the first book. That how teenager I start building a design mindset. And then I'll maybe writing next book on design, same imagination mind, learning mind, result mind for the business people, small businesses. But first I'm starting a journey from the bottom up.
That's very good, Arun, because in NASCOM and other industry bodies, they are all working on startup at the school level, so and the college level. So similar way, you are addressing design thinking mindset at school level. It's really it's a fantastic initiative, Arun.